We talk a lot about your camera when it comes to photography. You know, the settings, the gear, which lens, the exposure triangle, all of that stuff. And it's important. But there's another component to photography that I think is overlooked and at least as important as your camera. And that component is what we're going to talk about today. Hi, I'm Diane, and this is the PhotoFluent channel. Our goal here is to help you turn down the volume of your inner critic, get creative with your camera, so that you can capture beautiful memories that truly reflect your experiences when you travel. Now, the art of photography is like a puzzle. There are all these different pieces: your camera, composition, exposure, all of those things that have to connect together for you to get the outcome that you're looking for, which is beautiful photos. But sometimes I think it can feel complicated because there might be a piece missing and you're not even quite sure what it is. If you like to learn about all the components, not just your camera settings, make sure to subscribe and turn on the notifications because I talk about all of it. I think it's a pretty common practice in photography to see a lot of tutorials and trainings and courses all about camera settings and exposure and lighting. And that's really important. But here's the thing. The component we're going to talk about today is not something you hear a lot about, and I think it's so important and probably something that's holding you back, weighing you down in your progress. And that is your mindset. Yeah, the thoughts that are going on in your head can either help propel you forward and inspire you, or they can hold you back. So let's talk a little bit more about what that means exactly. There are a few different ways that your thoughts can hold you back. And the first one is that inner critic. You know, that voice inside your head that says, you're not very good at this. You're never going to figure out camera settings. You've been taking a lot of classes and your photos aren't getting better. Do you have a voice like that in your head? I do, and she is really mean sometimes. And I think it's natural to just go through life and we have these thoughts kind of swirling around. We don't even know they're in there necessarily. We just think they're true. We just think they're part of who we are. And so you look at your photos after you get back from a trip and your first thought is, wow, these are all bad. These all suck. And so you just think that's true. But we can be our own worst critic. So rein that in next time and think, when you look at a particular photo and think, this is wrong, the composition isn't good, it's too dark, all those things, think about if a friend showed you this photo, what would you tell them about it? Would you say, wow, friend, that sucks? No, you wouldn't. You would say, I like this about that photo. I like that. Maybe this could be better, but overall, I think you really captured a decent moment here. Something like that. So take a step back from that harsh critic that lives inside and be a little kinder to yourself. Now let's talk about the second thing that can be happening in your mind. That is comparisonitis. It's an affliction that a lot of us suffer from, especially now. If you're old enough, like me, to know that before social media, you were really sharing your photos with family and friends, most of whom, not always, are pretty complimentary. Oh, you're so talented. Wow, these photos are so great. You're really good at this. But now you put it out on social media and you might get some, these are great, but you also get these people that you don't even know giving you this feedback on your work. And it's really easy to also see what everybody else is doing. So all of a sudden, I have my stuff that inner critic's working on, for one thing. Now I start to compare myself to some of the best photographers in the world, a National Geographic photographer who's been working as a professional for 20 years. And suddenly, you're looking at their work and thinking, ooh, I'm not very good. Theirs are so much better. I will never be that good. See, all of these little mind things, they work together. Your inner critic, they are working along with the comparisonitis to bring you to this place of thinking you'll never get better at this. You'll never move forward. That brings me to the third little problem, issue, affliction that can happen to us, and that is perfectionism. I am a recovering perfectionist. You look at your photo and think, oh, this is a little off. It's a little too dark. The subject isn't where I want it to be. Whatever. There's 1,000 things that can be wrong with your photo. But here's what I want you to remember too. Striving for perfection will only stop you from moving forward because you get paralyzed. You'll never be perfect. So let that one go. You'll never be perfect. And here's the other part that I like to emphasize. Your photo doesn't have to be perfect to be good. First of all, I'm getting on a little soapbox today. This is a topic that I think is underrepresented and so important. So stick with me here. First of all, you are the one who looks at your work and judges it, and you're the one who has to like it because it's your work. So although we're on social media and thousands of people might see it, you're the opinion that's most important. So first you have to learn how to judge your photos not too harshly, but a little more objectively. Now, second, about that whole perfectionism thing, a photo can still be good and not be perfect. I know you hear a lot about tack sharp images and the perfect focus and the perfect exposure. And yes, we do want our photos to be in focus for the most part, or intentionally blurred so they look like they're out of focus and not just that we don't know what we're doing. But here's the thing. I learned this and it was mind-blowing when I was studying with my mentor, Kirsten Lewis. Kirsten, if you're out there listening, I refer to this so often, and I learned a lot from Kirsten. She is a documentary-style family photographer. Now, I love the documentary-style approach. Not that posed isn't great in its own right, and there's some gorgeous, gorgeous posed photos out there, and that's a whole nother skill. I love the real life, this is what it looks like. And sometimes it's gritty. And sometimes in her photos, those kids are crying and throwing a fit or on the toilet. But it's so real life. And I love that part of photography. As part of our working together, she's showing her mentees, that's us, what a photo shoot looks like, how many photos she takes, and she's going through the culling process. And she gets to one and says, I love this photo, but it's not perfectly in focus. But the mom's gonna love this moment. It's a great moment, so I'm gonna keep it in. I am telling you, I was shocked and my mind was blown because I thought she is a well-renowned, professional, famous photographer, speaker, teacher, and that wasn't perfect, and she's gonna deliver it to a client? And guess what? Do you think that mom looked at that photo and said, that's a little out of focus? She cried when she saw it because it was such a beautiful moment of her child. And that really made me start thinking about all the photos that I kicked out and said, nope, this one didn't make the cut because it wasn't perfect. Okay, so let's step back a little bit. If it's completely off focus, out of focus, blurry, and your eye doesn't know what to look at, that's a bad photo. But if it's focused enough on the subject and your eyes go to the subject, but when you zoom in as the critical photographer that you are, and it's just a smidge off, it can still be a great photo. If the general viewer doesn't look at it and say something's not right, if you have to zoom in to see that it's not tack sharp, and that moment is great, that's a freaking great photo. So step away from the perfectionism and look at your photos with a little more sensitive lens and look at the moment and the experience and the feeling you get with your photos, not just if they're perfect or not. And the other thing I love about photography is that I feel like, as the recovering perfectionist, it's the one place that you can fix errors. If you say something mean to somebody, you can't take it back. It's already out there. But if you take a photo, it's not perfectly in focus or perfectly exposed, guess what? You can do a whole lot in editing to help that photo along. Now, is it best to get it it as good as you can in your camera? Absolutely. That makes the whole process easier. But as a travel photographer, you don't have control of the sun, of the light, of the time of day always. You can get up at sunrise, but a lot of times you're out in the middle of the day and that's when your experiences are happening. Sure, if you're in a studio, you have lighting and you have a subject that you can instruct and you have some time to figure out just the right setting. So it should be nearly perfect in your camera. But when you're traveling, there are so many factors out of your control. So that means you get it back later and think, this would have been perfect, except, guess what? A few adjustments, and that except becomes a good photo. So the inner critic, the comparisonitis, you should not be comparing yourself to other photographers unless it's to get inspired by their work. Not to compare yourself, judge yourself against them. And then the perfectionist thing, just let that go. Okay, so I want to know from you in the comments, do you suffer from any of these or all of these ailments, we'll call them, whether it be perfectionism or inner critic or comparisonitis? Let me know in the comments. And give me a like on this video if you're resonating with all of this stuff. Okay, so I never like to throw out there a whole lot of stuff without telling you what to do about it, because I don't think that's fair. Like, you have all these issues, goodbye, good luck to you. No. Let's talk about what to do about these three things. It all comes down to one concept, and that is recognizing the thoughts running rampant in your mind. How do you do that? My number one go-to for wrangling thoughts is meditation. Okay, don't let me lose you here if you've said, I can't do that, my mind is too busy. I've heard people say that a lot. I can't meditate. I've tried. My mind just goes crazy. Let me clear up a misperception. Meditation is not about just sitting there in silence, and if thoughts come in, then you're not doing it right. Here's what meditation is. You sit there for 5 minutes to get started. Work your way up, but 5 minutes. I love the Insight timer. It's just an app you have on your phone. You can set it for 5 minutes and these lovely gongs go off at the end. So you know you're done. It's very gentle, soothing. Here's what's going to happen the first few times, or 100. You sit there, say you focus on your breath. That's a good place to kind of put your thoughts, because you have to put your thoughts somewhere or you'll be going through your grocery list. So you put it on your breath and you think about breathing in, breathing out. Immediately, a thought comes in, a work meeting, or that your kid got in trouble at school, or what are you going to make for dinner? That doesn't mean you're doing it wrong. You recognize the thought comes in and you're like, hey, I'm trying to focus on my breath here. You can leave. That's meditation. Of course the thoughts come in. That's normal. But recognizing the thought is coming in, that is what meditation is all about. That's the purpose of it. So you sit there, you think about your breath, a thought comes in, you send it away. And then another thought, you send it away. It feels like you're playing tennis a little bit and you're just swatting these thoughts away with your racket. But eventually, days, weeks, months, the thoughts will become less frequent and you'll actually have some silence between thoughts. But then you'll have a day where you're really busy or stressed and the thoughts come in faster. So it's not just this journey of you get better. It's a roller coaster, like most things in life. But here's the difference that you're going to see. Suddenly, you sit there for 5 minutes, maybe you work up to 10 for a few weeks, and then you're looking at your photos and you start to go through that. This one's bad and that one's bad and I'm never going to get good at this. How many classes do I have to take and I still don't know this? And guess what? This time, instead of it just being true, you recognize the thoughts in there and say, hey, get out of here. I don't have room for you. You are not helping me. That is what meditation will do for you. Because it's really easy to just go about your life. We're busy. We got stuff to do. Those thoughts are just swirling around and we don't even know they're in there. What meditation does is just trains you to recognize them. Then you can kind of sort out the ones that say, this isn't perfect, but it sure is better than you used to take, or this is getting close, It's not perfect, but it's a great moment and I love it anyway. Those kinds of conversations will happen more and more as you get rid of the inner critic, the perfectionist, and the comparer. You're going to learn how to let them go, and you're going to start embracing who you are, your talents, your progress in photography. Then what will emerge is you as a creative person. You will start to develop your own style and you'll start to see improvement. But I don't think you can see improvement by just learning your camera settings or just learning the laws of composition. I think it's a three-prong approach. You have your technology part, you have your creative part, and you have your mindset part. Now, if that's the way that resonates with you as far as learning goes, I have the perfect place for you. And that is my upcoming program, Create Amazing Travel Photos. We talk about all of this stuff in a very step-by-step way. It's a live program over the course of 8 weeks, so we're in it together, and it's going to be opening in a few weeks. So make sure to sign up for the wait list. Of course, I will link to that below. And when you get on the wait list, you get access to a special bonus that only people on the wait list will get. So make sure you get on there. Okay, and for right now, I also have another video that I think you will love. It's 5 photo tips that every traveler should know. And you can link to it right here on the screen. Don't forget to subscribe. You can also hit that right here on the screen. So watch the next video, subscribe to the channel, and I will see you very soon in the next video.